Most females want skin that is silky smooth, wrinkle-free, and most of us enjoy glamming up, adding a little lipstick, eyeshadow, blush, and sass to our day and nighttime looks. We also use body creams, deodorants, and perfumes to make us smell lovely. However, some products we put on our bodies are full of not-so-nice chemicals. Broadcaster, researcher, and cancer survivor Gill Deacon is on a mission to reduce our chemical body burden. It is my pleasure to welcome Gill Deacon to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Fanny, thank you. What a nice introduction.
Nice to see you.
Great to be here.
When did you start on this mission? Getting the lead out and all the chemicals out.
Well, it's funny because my last book, Green for Life, had a little bit of this kind of information. Now I realize I sort of skimmed over it. I did one chapter about it. And so my editor thought, oh, this would be good. Let's work on this. So about 2.5 years ago, we decided to go for a whole book on all this because, as you said, this is a huge issue for not just women. It's not just about makeup. It's everyday toothpaste and soap and deodorant and stuff we all use. So about 2.5 years ago, I started, and then 2 years ago yesterday, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As I was in the midst of researching all the products and ingredients that contain chemicals that are linked to breast cancer. So terribly ironic.
Yes, and you were one who did everything right, supposedly. Ate organic, exercised, took care of yourself, didn't come from a DDT-laden field.
Oh, cleaned my house with baking soda and vinegar. And yeah, so I think everybody who hears that dreaded diagnosis is absolutely sent reeling. I feel like I was more stunned than anybody else because I thought, but what? That can't be right.
I've been paying attention, you said.
I felt really betrayed and confused, but anyway, got on with it and dealt with it.
Yes, and now you're what we like to call a cancer graduate.
Yes.
So am I.
I got a little,
Yeah, not breast, but I'll talk to you about that another
day.
Another
time. Okay, well,
in a different spot. Survivor Sister is right.
Okay.
So, broadcaster, reporter, all of that. When did you go green?
You know, it's funny. There wasn't a moment for me where I grew up in a house where a lot of people sort of nod knowingly when I talk about this, but the family that I grew up in, it was more about saving money, but we were quite conservation minded. So if it was cold, you put on a sweater, you didn't turn up the heat. And if you know, you brought paper bags full of mushrooms home from the store, you used that bag to take your lunch to school again the next day. You didn't throw it away and go out and buy packages of bags for lunches.
Right.
It was very, just part of it was in the air I breathed around the house. It was a waste not, want not mentality, which also meant finish every drop of milk in your glass and put your bicycle in the garage because if it gets rusted on it, it will be, you know, it was a kind of a take care of what you have.
Right, a family ahead of its time.
Well, I guess. I mean, there was loads of chemicals under the kitchen sink. It wasn't that we were so earthy and green, but the other part of it was that I spent my summers in nature, at summer camp in Algonquin Park in Ontario or at cottages. So just really developing an appreciation for the natural world, which as kids raised in the city, as I was, don't always get to understand and cherish the beauty of nature. So as I got older and started to hear about the planet in peril, it just made sense to me to combine those two. That's just the way I think. I think you take care of what you have, you don't waste stuff, and if you're doing it to preserve nature, all the better. Okay,
so I can call you a natural-born greenie.
I guess so.
Now, about this chemical body burden, what is it?
Well, the idea is that, I mean, the main thing that shocked me the most when I was researching this book is that we think as we're walking down the aisles of the beauty counters in the drugstores buying shampoo or whatever products we need, we assume somewhere in our mind, if you think about it, there's this assumption that some protective body out there, regulatory body, has made sure that these products are safe and that the ingredients in them are totally safe for us to use. But that's not the case.
Well, as you know, the Food and Drug Administration in the United States says it is the case, and the authorities to be up here say that is the case. We wouldn't put anything in a product that could possibly hurt you.
Well, but They don't, but if you look right clearly on the FDA's website, it says we don't require, for cosmetics, we're not talking about food. For cosmetics and personal care products, there's no requirements for testing. 85% of the 100,000 chemicals in the marketplace are not tested. Long-term human health testing has not been done. So the individual companies will say, oh, sure, this little amount is safe and we would never want to hurt you. Of course they don't. Nobody's out to wipe us all out. Operation Pretty Face, you know, eliminate the human population. But the thing is, we're now learning about the links between those ingredients and all the health concerns
and it makes sense to me.
there.
If you put something on your body, the skin absorbs the something.
Absolutely.
If you lick your lips, the skin...
Well, think of how many times you have to reapply your lipstick in a day. I mean, it's going into your... It's going on your coffee cup, but it's also going into your system.
Yes, we had that discussion yesterday about where does lipstick go
well,
when it goes away.
A lot of it. And so the chemical body burden, to answer your question, is over time, over years and years of brushing your teeth with that stuff, putting this deodorant on, spraying this perfume, as you say, it's going in through your skin, it's being absorbed into our bodies and our blood system, and all those chemicals build up. And people have been tested. There's organized research has been done testing random samplings of people and finding chemicals that are, you know, umbilical cord blood has been tested. Babies that haven't even drawn breath, their blood contains chemicals that are in their mother's personal care products. So these things are become, you know, integrated into our body systems, and they have terrible effects.
And how many chemicals are we talking about? 20-some thousand, 40-some thousand?
Well, just to give you, there's 100,000 chemicals in the marketplace right now, and 1,000 new ones introduced every year. Health Canada approves 1,000 new chemicals or polymers every year. But just to bring it back to us as individuals, a woman walking out the door in the morning, getting all gussied up, ready to go, has used about a dozen personal care products. It's reasonable, right, if you add them all up.
Shampoo.
But within that, there's
gel.
126 different chemicals that we've spritzed and soaked in, and many of them are toxic.
In huge amounts, I'm thinking, or not?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, 19 out of 20 breast cancer tumors studied were found to contain parabens in tiny amounts, right? So you draw the conclusion as to what, you know, some people will say there's no proof to say that parabens are causing the cancer, but they're obviously involved.
Sure.
They're hormone disruptors, and we know that, I don't know about other people's kinds of cancers, but a lot, including mine, are driven by, are fed by hormones and driven by an out of whack sort of imbalance in hormones. So when there are chemicals in our bodies, even in tiny amounts, we're seeing that they can throw off our hormone balance. They can affect even things that you might not consider being connected, like you have a headache at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but you might not think that it's about the perfume that you sprayed on your body at 8 o'clock that morning, or the hand lotion that you keep reapplying through the day.
No, you think dehydration or
Right.
drank
And
too
that,
much
and
the
it's
night
true,
before.
that might be part of it. That's not to say it's the only cause, but we don't often associate some conditions that we have: skin rashes, infertility. There's all kinds of health implications that research is now linking to these chemicals. So,
well, the key message throughout There's Lead in Your Lipstick is women need to own their bodies, people need to own their bodies. The power of the state should stop at our bodies, as Gloria Steinem used to say. But to do that, how do you lather up and smell good and not perspire so much?
Right.
The natural way.
The natural way. I know. I like to say, you know, I worked in TV for years. You know how much makeup's required for that job, and even just on a normal day, I like to think I smell okay and look okay when I walk out the door in the morning. I'm not saying that people have to just give it all up and go au naturel. The happy news in this story is that there are an increasing number of safer products out there. Companies are starting to get on board. Some companies are starting to be aware of making these changes. And there's a growing number of independent companies that are making wonderful products for all, you know, makeup, lotions, all kinds of things that are made without these chemicals. So it is possible. We just have to start supporting and paying attention to those ingredients and supporting companies that are using safer ones.
Yes, whether it's mouthwash or deodorant or antiperspirant. And there is a difference between antiperspirant and deodorant. And I know my modeling friends always said, even though you don't want to perspire, don't use antiperspirant. Not good for you. No. Just use a little deodorant and make it Tom's or something. Make it natural. That's
right. Make it something that doesn't contain aluminum and chemicals that are going, especially when women are shaving their underarms. And there is research showing it's not. I'm not sure where the deodorant's a big one. Everybody always asks about that, and I wanted to be really careful not to make. This book has been fact checked and sourced carefully, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't making claims that I couldn't back up. And there's no question the jury's still out on that deodorant thing. In terms of aluminum and the risks and
very
links
much
to cancer.
And the jury's still out on many sprays, and the jury's still out on fluoride.
Yes.
Some people grew up with fluoridated water. I don't know what you do about that. I certainly did, but I know my dentist. My dentist has gone green. He's not using fluoride anymore in kids.
There's a whole section in here on greening oral hygiene because you're right. Fluoride is one aspect of it, but there's lots of crazy ingredients in toothpaste. Triclosan is an ingredient that's in toothpaste. It's also in hand sanitizers. In both cases, it's going straight into the water system all the time.
Right, that too, when you follow the link.
So when you follow the link, triclosan is when it winds up in the water system and reacts and is exposed to sunlight, it creates dioxins in the water, which are known carcinogens. So we're creating carcinogens in our water supply by the stuff that's in our morning toothpaste and all those antibacterial hand sanitizers and stuff. So there's an environmental aspect of this as well. There's the personal health and safety issue around getting chemicals out of our bodies. But there's the sort of other half of it is the fish and the water supply at the other end, on the receiving end of every product that we wash down the drain.
Very much so. And as you know, top brain researchers are looking at epigenetics, like what's in our environment that could possibly be linked to disease, chronic disease, cancer, heart disease. All of that is fascinating field.
And there's more and more research coming out to show that there is a link between cancers and other health problems and all those environmental exposures.
And is there a lot of what they call greenwash? Something says natural. Something says...
Are you ready to watch me pulling my hair out?
You know, Rocky Mountain High.
Right.
You think, well, that sounds healthy.
Contains herbal whatever.
Right.
And the package has pretty green leaves on it, and you see the word natural, and you think, oh, this is safe for my baby, or this is safe for me, and it's absolutely. I've got a whole section in here about beware of greenwash. Greenwash is my biggest peeve because the thought of somebody paying a little bit extra and having the best of intentions and actually trying to do the right thing and being duped by marketing campaigns just makes me nuts. So you have to be really careful. The word natural doesn't mean anything.
No.
There's no proof required to substantiate
exactly.
those claims.
And organic, well, that has some rules around
it. If it's not certified by the USDA organic in terms of body care stuff, it's the USDA organic certification that you have to look for. Otherwise, the word organic doesn't mean anything either.
I'm sure not. And even if you bought lavender oil, is it pure lavender oil? Is it an essential oil, or is it a doctored up oil? Well, we have to start thinking.
When I sign these books for people, my note that I always put is read your labels. And that's really what it all comes down to, because I can't say to you, oh, use this brand because it's the best and don't use that brand. No. Because they're going to change their formulas. It's all about turning those products over and reading the labels and cross-referencing them with the ingredients in here to know what's safe and what's not, and then saying, whoa, that's got parabens, I'm putting it back.
Okay. Gill Deacon, our guest, will come back with There's Lead in Your Lipstick.